Welcome to Love in the Time of Hydra, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 10th anniversary podcast. We're finally back!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And on this day, 10 years ago, March 4th, 2014, a lot was happening. The number one movie in the US that day was Need for Speed. The number one song was Happy by Pharrell Williams. For 2 straight days, the internet could not stop talking about John Travolta saying Adele Dazeem. And this one's fun. A New Jersey judge ruled that parents of an 18-year-old did not have to pay for college after she filed a lawsuit against them for not paying her college. But she lost. I think that's really funny. But the most important thing that happened on March 4th, 10 years ago, was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 14th episode, T.A.H.I.T., aired on ABC 8, 7 Central. Hello, I'm Jamie Jarek. I'm here with my co-host, boyfriend, and level 1 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, Tony Paletto. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Jamie. God, the status every time I hear that I leveled up because I keep forgetting and it just feels great. Gosh, so glad to be back. And Jamie, we got a little Travolta a few days after the end of Travolta month, a very long time in our household.
Yep, it's true. We watched 21. Well, I did watch 29 Travolta movies in 29 days. Tony watched a lot of them too. It was very exciting, but not as exciting as our guest for today. We have Agents of Fandoms editor-in-chief TJ Zwarich is here, everybody. Let's bring him on in. Hey, TJ.
What is up? So happy to be here. Thanks for bringing me on. Nice to see you again, Jamie. Nice to meet you, Tony. I can't wait to talk about one of my favorite shows of all time, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, I'm so glad. After being on your pod multiple times, I'm so excited for you to be here with us.
Heck yeah.
I can't wait. This is it's been exciting. You know, we've done a few podcasts together, but first time we're going to be talking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I can't wait.
Yeah. So TJ, we like to kind of kick things off by talking about what we were doing 10 years ago today. Do you know what you were doing 10 years ago?
I do. I was just finishing up my second year of college. Didn't quite know what I was doing yet. I was going towards a psychology degree, ended up going into education, but it was actually a pretty important year. You know, I was starting up my party phase, my young party phase, and I was still am I allowed to? I don't. What's the level
you can
of profanity?
Say whatever the fuck you want.
I was still a little bit of a douche. I was still a little bit of a douche. You know, like I was 20. I was entitled. I was just like your classic white dude in college. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And I was en route to a relationship that lasted a while, and afterwards, just, you know, it broke me down. And that's when the therapy started, and I became a new man, a well-educated and much better mental health prepared person. And so it was a fun year. But it was kind of like almost like one of the last years of my I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna do whatever I want kind of time.
Wow.
Yes.
Tony, can you top that like life revelation that we just got here?
I can relate to that experience, the douche evolution. It's very important. We must all go through it. If you're our age and still douching, you should take a hard look at yourself. No, I think, let's see, 10 years ago. Oh, yeah, I was working on a basil farm in Gilroy, California, which is about 2.5 hours east of here, which is primarily known for its garlic production, but they have a lot of other major crops there. That's what I was doing.
You know, I never considered that basil must be farmed.
Well,
I learned something new.
With these hands, I did this.
It doesn't go on top of your margarita pizza by itself.
That's exactly right.
Good point.
TJ gets it.
That's a really lovely lie. So the problem with us recording these episodes a day early is that Time Hop won't tell me what I was doing 10 years ago. But I do know that about 6 years ago, my grandma sent me a TV guide clipping that was mentioning Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 100th episode was coming up. So that's exciting. On March 9th is the anniversary of that. And we all know how important the 100th episode is to me. So we have a long ways to get to that on our podcast, though. But I will tell you, 10 years ago, I think the only person on earth who was getting as much shit as John Travolta for saying Adele Dazeem was me. I was getting so many texts all day from people like, oh, your boy's fucked up. And I was like, it's not that big of a deal. The Adele Dazeem era was really rough for me. I want you guys to know that was tough.
It was rough for you. You just that's what happens when you are, according to him, his number one fan. It falls on your shoulders.
It's true. Oh gosh. But I do want to shout out everyone who is in our live chat today. We have missed you. This hiatus was so long. It's officially over for now. But a reminder, in case you don't know, we are continuing live shows on Sundays, but the episodes are officially being released on Mondays to coincide with the anniversary. In case anyone's confused why I'm saying today is March 4th. It is March 4th. Wink, wink. Leap year fucked us. What can I say?
Yep.
I also want to let everybody know that we will not be doing a live show next Sunday because your girl wants to watch the Oscars. So we will miss you in the chat, but the episode will be available Monday the 11th, and we'll be back to doing live shows on, get this, Sunday the 31st. 2 more weeks off. Can you believe it? I know. It's some bullshit.
I don't know how our fans are going to cope with
I don't either.
Yeah.
But enough business. We're here with you now. Tony, remind the chat the rules.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to lay it down. So, guys, if this is a friendly reminder just to tag your spoilers in the chat. That means saying spoiler alert before discussing anything that happens on the show after the episode we're talking about. That's for me, even though I'm not in that chat, but it's for people like me who may be going through this an episode at a time, just like I am. And if you break those rules, our producer, Maria, will, I think, stab you. Is that correct, Maria?
Yes, I will. I will find you and I will stab you.
That's our producer. She's hard. Thank you.
Great. We got Layla in the chat. We got to shout out Layla.
Oh, hey,
for
Layla.
joining us. All right. So before we get into the episode, TJ, I want to talk a little bit about your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. history. You love the show. When did you watch it originally? Did you start it when it first aired? Did you watch the whole thing? Tell us your deal.
Watched it as it was airing, the whole thing, all the way through. May have missed a few weekly episodes and then had to go back and find somewhere to stream it online afterwards, but like pretty much as it was going through. And that's I think one of the biggest reasons why this is one of my favorite shows, is because especially at the beginning, without like staying vague, without getting into anything, timing wise, so much coincides with the MCU throughout the beginning of this show before, Marvel Studios decided to start keeping things closer to the vest and, maybe have it not connect as much. So I loved watching it live. I ended up introducing the show to my now wife when we were dating. Started in COVID. We got to, we kind of progressed pretty quick because we got to spend so much time together, because it was like hey, do we spend all of our time together or none? We picked all. And so that led to us binging Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. together. And so I got to go through it live as it was happening, and then also with her afterwards for her first time. And it was an absolute blast then as well. I've been a huge Marvel fan my whole life. Like that every week, every day viewing schedule at this time started for me with Spider-Man, the animated series. And just like, that's the reason why I love the MCU, is because that show brings in the X-Men, obviously X-Men 97 coming back now. So excited. Bringing in the Fantastic Four, bring in Iron Man from his show, I loved how they did that. Bring in Doctor Strange. And so it had me in the 2002 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies being like, bring everyone in, bring Hugh Jackman in. Like then I was already feeling that. So when the MCU happened, it just got me so excited. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was one of these shows that really leveled up my fandom. And I started the Agents of fandom with two of my very closest friends. And we came up with the name Agents of Fandom because we were Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. We were like, how can we, kind of tie this in? And so 2.5 years later, whatever it is now, we site's going crazy. We got about 30 people on the team now, and all from our love of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, I love that. What a beautiful origin story. Agents of Fandom. I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat is like an Agents of Fandom fan right now, but just in case that you're listening and you don't know, check out their site. They've got a lot of awesome content on there. You guys have been crushing it.
Thank you so much. That's you, literally Phase Zero was our very first inspiration for it, for wanting to make content, because we love the community, and we met so many of our people on the team from Phase Zero. So not only is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. an inspiration from day one, you and Brandon and Aaron and Jenna have been our main inspirations from day one.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love hearing that. That other podcast that technically exists.
I've never heard of it. Sure. Yeah.
But we're allowed to talk about that podcast on this podcast. We just can't talk about this podcast on that
Yeah.
podcast.
That's the way it is.
All right, so T.A.H.I.T., we're talking T.A.H.I.T., episode 14. Here's some deets about this show. It was written by my boy Jeffrey Bell. A reminder that he was an EP on the show throughout its entire run. He wrote 12 episodes, including the 100th episode. If you know, you know. And of course, he also worked on Angel. That counts as a Buffy reference drink if you're drinking along. And get that vitamin water. And the episode was directed by Bobby Roth, who previously directed The Hub, which is, I think, one of the best episodes that we've had so far. It's such a fun episode. The cast of this one, we've got the OG6. They're all here, of course. Some exciting guest stars. David Conrad is back as Ian Quid. Soraya Blue is here as the Doctor. But you guys, big one. We got BJ Britt as Trip and Bill Paxton as John Garrett. Oh my God. So before we get into everything, Tony, did you remember that Paxton was going to show up? Because before this podcast existed, I know I told you.
Yeah. Since I've known you, we'll periodically be watching a show or a movie, and you'll say, "You know who that you know what that actor's in?" And I'll say, "What?" Agents of Shield. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so when Bill Paxton showed up, I did remember, but I was no less excited. And you did tell me, "Hey, if you want to just maybe not read the credits as they come up, you might." I was like, oh, "Okay, all right." So somebody's coming. Great, that's exciting. And boy, was I excited to see Bill Paxton just fucking walk onto this show. How cool is that?
You literally said, "Holy fuck."
Yeah. I mean, that's just, one, it's an amazing get, and I love him. I kind of grew up watching Twister all the time. Is kind of maybe my deepest connection to Bill Paxton. But seeing him just kind of walk into this show in the middle of the first season was a really exciting moment.
TJ, are you a Pax fan?
Not out of the nothing. I can't pick out many things that he's done, so I'll not in particularly.
Okay, well, check out that filmography because the man is amazing. He's I really think that we're gonna get some cool actors on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. over the years, but no one is bigger than Pax. That is there's some cool people, and you're gonna get excited when certain people show up. But this is the fact that they got him season 1 is crazy. And I actually read they gave new cast member descriptions before the episode came out, and Trip was described as an African American agent who specializes in combat/weapons and a high-level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent / munitions expert who has past ties to both Coulson and Ward, which is a very straightforward kind of description. But
sure.
Garrett is described with way more gravitas. He's described as a rough and tumble former cohort of Agent Coulson with a little bit of attitude and cigar-smoking swagger.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it's a pretty vibrant character, I'll say that, and kind of a bit unnerving for how much he's into just killing people. He seemed a little excited about that part of the job on an unhealthy level.
Oh, and then basically in this episode, Coulson's team, they break all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s rules in order to try and save Skye's life. But is the cure worse than death? I don't know. Initial just thoughts of this episode. TJ, how do you feel about this episode? How long has it been since you watched it? Would it have been during lockdown?
Probably about 2 to 3 years since I've seen 2 years probably since I've seen it. And I'm so thankful that I was on for this episode because as we all know who have seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot of times, the worst part of the series, is probably right at the very beginning. It just keeps getting better as the series goes along. It takes a while to get going. And right around here is where it starts being this is can't miss television. This is appointment viewing. I need to set my alarm, make sure I do not miss my cable television time. I got to get my DVR going to record it. If I'm not, and this is really where shit starts to hit the fan. We get Trip, who I love. We get Garrett, who comes in and right off the bat, him and Coulson just have this weird kind of sexual tension almost they've been through some shit together, and we're not going to know all of what it is, but they've seen some things and they've seen it together. So it's a really kind of, it's one of the best episodes of season 1, and just fast-paced, action-packed right from the get-go.
Yeah. Tony, how'd you feel about this one in general?
Well, I just stuck it on my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode ranking before we began recording, and it is at number 3 of 14.
Wow.
So number 1 is still Psst, and number 2 is The Magical Place, and number 3 is Tahiti, and then number 4 is the previous episode, Tracks, which I really was struggling which goes where. But I think in terms of just life or death stakes and just high intensity, like a high intensity episode, this is right up there with just the urgency of everything and how just emotional it is. So I liked it quite a bit.
Awesome. I love this episode too. I would put Tracks above it though.
Okay.
And I think like the thing about this episode is like as like a singular episode, it's good. But what I love about it is that it is clearly such an important piece of a puzzle. We don't really know exactly how and why yet, like especially that ending, which we're going to talk about later. But I mean, the thing about this episode, as already discussed, Bill fucking Paxton shows up.
Fucking A, man.
I'm gonna keep saying it because it's just like it's just crazy. I still can't believe it. Like I've seen this episode like probably 10 times. Every time I'm like, Bill Paxton's here! Ah, this is real television. Like I don't know. This was before like movie stars were doing shit. I don't know. I guess Bill Paxton wasn't as big in 2014 as he was in 1997, but still,
Yeah.
The man's a legend.
Truth.
Okay, so let's just dive into this episode. We kick off right where Tracks leaves off. They get Skye to a S.H.I.E.L.D. medical facility. It's called S.H.I.E.L.D. Trauma Zentrum. I had to look up Zentrum. It just means center in German. That's what that means. I was like, I even asked Tony. I was like, what did that say? I looked it up. That's what it is. They're in Zurich. And things aren't looking good. Everyone blames themselves. Is Skye gonna die? Everyone, the doctor's like, she's not gonna make it. And then Coulson has that moment, we're her family. It's all very dramatic. Tony, I'm gonna guess that you were never like too worried, but did you have like thoughts on how this might unfold?
I was never too worried. I ended up being more worried than I thought because I know there's so much history with Skye, and I'm forgetting the abbreviation of what she's been designated as.
084.
An 084. So I know there's a lot of questions to be answered there. So by no means did I think she was going to die. But man, they nonetheless took it to the brink and got under my skin. But they're like, yeah, she's, we can just keep her comfortable and keep her sedated. And, we got to call her family. And when they say we're her family, it really lands. And it's amazing that it lands just 14 episodes into a show like this. Like that feeling of family is really strong. And I feel like we built that quickly and have been, I'm just really impressed with the depth of feeling that I have for these people and that they have for each other. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad that she's not dead, but we'll get into that towards the end. But,
yeah,
it's a lot.
TJ, do you remember your first time like experiencing this? And if you were like, oh shit, she could be dying because you just never know. Do you remember being like, nah, we don't know enough yet. What's an 084? She's going to live.
I did very much feel like she was going to live as it was happening, but maybe that was also just part of my, like, I would die for Chloe Bennett. Skye is my favorite character in the show. And so
was she at this point, this early in your experience? Do you remember?
I think so. I believe it was between her and Agent May. Like I will stand Ming-Na Wen forever. And so I believe it was between her and Agent May at this point. And so I didn't think she was going to, but I think that also may have just been like there's no way she can. But it's you both said it so well, and it's kind of same like Simmons said in the episode too. Like we have nothing in common. We've known each other a few weeks, but you can see on her face like the absolute terror of considering life without Skye at that point. And it was regardless of how much you're sitting there believing, being like, okay, she can't. There's no way she will. It's season 1 of this show. They are introducing her as a main character. There's no way she's gone already. but they make they make it seem so dire. Like
Yeah.
you're sitting there on the edge of your seat being like, I watched this, I know she doesn't die, and I'm like, does she? And so it's tough. It's so well written.
Yes.
Yes.
Jeffrey Bell, my boy. But okay, so speaking of Agent May, I really love that everyone's kind of blaming themselves, and she's like, no, the person to blame is the motherfucker who shot her twice. And then I love that, she gets on the bus because they have Quinn on the bus, and she just beats the shit out of him. And I love this because May has always been really cold towards Skye, and Skye thinks that May doesn't really like her, but we know that that's just how May is, and this episode really proves that she cares because she's upset. You can see she's upset, and she fucking unleashes.
Yep. Very gratifying to see. Because Quinn, up until the previous episode, I was like, nah, Quinn's a fun villain. Quinn's a fun bad guy. I like him. He's a schmarmy guy in his private jet and his champagne cocktails. And then he shoots Skye, and I'm like, oh, you're not even fun about you at all. Fuck you. And so that turn, I was like, well, this guy's real dangerous and a real bad man. So getting to watch Ming-Na Wen just decimate him and him thinking that could never happen is the best part of it. I'm just like, you can't do that. She did.
So it's like Die Hard when Tony's like, you're a cop, you're not allowed to kill me. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, that's what my captain keeps telling me.
Exactly. Good John McClane, by the way.
Oh, thank you. TJ, you got Quinn thoughts?
This is one of the first episodes, I believe, that we really get to see Coulson and May go full mom and dad mode with the team. And Coulson is mom and May is dad. And, May is the dad that walks out on her daughter's first date with the shotgun there, and it's cocked and being like, you'll bring my daughter home by 8 p.m. sharp. And then they give the little thing. That's May, and she's pissed. Like, she's not going to show it on her face. She's not going to show the emotion, but she goes in there and she beats the living shit out of him. And so when you become so attached to these characters, even in such a short amount of time, it's exactly like you said, Tony. It's like, fuck this guy. You shot Skye. Bang, bang, bang. You deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. Coulson's not the type of guy to do that, but he'll watch Garrett threaten the shit out of this guy. He'll watch May slam his head in, and he's not actually going to be mad because he wants to do it too. And so that was a fun little scene to just kind of show, like, this is Mama and Papa Bear, and you piss them off. You don't take the baby bear. You do not take the cub. And that's kind of what we see happen here.
Yes.
There's so much May love happening in the comments right now. And I love Brendan says, can May beat me up like that, please? Yeah, I get it. We get it.
She will never not be sexy.
It's so true. If you haven't listened to our Patreon episode talking about Street Fighter, we do a lot of Ming thirsting in that recent episode. So
I had no idea where that was gonna go after she'll never not be sexy. On that note, check out our new Patreon episode. I was like, oh, what is the Patreon?
It's just really sexy fan art.
Yeah, I still haven't started my erotic fan fiction on this podcast. I keep teasing it. I haven't done it all season. It'll happen, I promise.
That's gonna be like third tier Patreon. It's like, maybe $8, and you can listen to Jamie say sexy things about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast.
Oh, it's gonna get gay. But anyway, so Coulson decides that he wants to save Skye the same way that he was saved. And as Tony said out loud during the episode, that's a slippery slope. He tells the team. Yeah, you did. He tells the team what happened to him, or at least as much as he knows. He doesn't know everything. We got Gemma saying, so she learned, she's like, that's medically impossible. It's like, girl, you have been in 14 episodes of the show. Stop saying things are impossible. Let it go. Embrace the weird. Okay, so basically then the team disobeys direct orders by not turning Quinn to HQ. They get boarded by S.H.I.E.L.D. and we get Garrett and Trip. So a lot's going on here. First, Tony, we talked about how you felt about Paxton being on the show, but what were your first impressions of the character of John Garrett?
It was interesting. TJ commented on the tension between those two guys, and it was weirdly competitive. Like, there was a giddiness to Bill Paxton. He just really loves his job. And he walked onto that thing and like, there was just this twinkle in his eye of like, I might get into a fight with Coulson. And it is almost sexual in that like there's just they're comparable to each other. I think both like, mentally and physically and stuff. So I was taken aback by just how kind of edgy Paxton felt, because he can play edgy, but it's pretty edgy for this show, like what he's bringing to it. And I really liked it.
And we like learn a little bit about him. Like he was Ward's SO, taught him how to unarm nuclear bombs, which I'd like to talk about that real quick. Like how much unarming of nuclear bombs are you doing? And I feel like don't all nuclear bombs like have like a pretty easy like stop button? I don't know. I have a lot
They're
of thoughts
flying through the air and you press stop from miles away.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Yeah.
You send Iron Man to stick it through a wormhole.
Yeah. You send Hank Pym in tiny form with his wife to crawl inside the fuselage and disarm it. Yeah. I don't know how much he's been doing or why.
Lots to think about. But anyway, I wrote down like he's kind of ruthless, but he's also charming. Like there's just this like he like they said in the description, swagger. That is absolutely what John Garrett has. And he is kind of like he's like cool Coulson in a way. Like Coulson's cool, but he's also a nerd, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like at Shield Academy, I feel like Garrett would have picked on Coulson a little bit.
I think I would say he's jock Coulson.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So TJ, you kind of laid down some thoughts on him, but want to give you the opportunity to throw out anything else.
It's just he's got such a chaotic personality. It's like that first interaction between the two of them. It looks like they're going to be face to face yelling at each other, and you don't know if it's going to end in like a punch in the face or like I love you so much. Nice to see you, brother. Like you really can't tell what their relationship is and what they've been through together. And so it does kind of give him his chaotic nature with all the things they throw in there. Like, oh, you remember back in 1973 when we did this one. I guess not, because Coulson was brand new in the 90s, but you know what I mean. They've got that weird relationship, and it kind of has that I have no idea what's going to come next with this dude vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a wild card for sure. And we learned that Garrett has also been chasing Quinn. He's lost 3 of his team members to Quinn. Meanwhile, we got Ward and Trip are like, also they clearly know each other as well, but then they start to get in a fight because
similar relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. They're like the kids version of them. Like they're sons. But basically, Garrett and Coulson stop the fight because they've agreed to work together while everyone attempts to save Skye. Garrett's going to interrogate Quinn on the bus. Everybody's happy. We have the Quinn interrogation. He says he shot Skye because the clairvoyant told him to. It's all coming down to they want to know what happened to Coulson.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like... Coulson, to speak to something that you like right before they meet, this decision to go and do this to this facility, the decision to disclose all of the classified information, that I get. But I was saying this before, the past couple of episodes, I'm always talking about how Coulson always puts humanity first. He's always giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. He's always leading with his heart. And that's finally put him in a corner. So the choice, I don't know how this, we're going to talk about it. I don't know how this injection is going to play out. But as, when I said this is a slippery slope, like this has been developing. Like his Coulson's impulses have kind of been getting the better of him. And now it's like, whether this is the right choice or not, it's kind of coming to a head. And I think that's really interesting.
It's so tough too, because it's coming to an end, and it's no choice, but you look back and you feel like he wouldn't change a thing either. You know what I mean? Like he's probably not going to look at this in hindsight and not want to change anything. And it's kind of what makes him such a good leader. I think that whole leading with his heart, not his head. And even though it's kind of how I feel about, I brought up like earlier on in the show, I was getting ready to go into education. I was going to be a teacher, and I taught for 5 years. And it's kind of how I view that as well, as you can make decisions sometime that, like, tactically, maybe that's not the best, Maybe that's
Right.
not the best call, but by always putting your team first and by showing them each and every day that you would be there for them, you would die for them, it builds that trust, that continuity, that chemistry that a team needs. And I kind of view it as the same as teaching. It's like, yeah, you can know the curriculum and the textbooks and the methods so well, but if you're not there each day showing the kids that you care about them, they're not going to give a fuck what you have to say. And it's that kind of double-edged sword with him that it's like, ooh, it bit him in the ass here, but it's also what makes him so great.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
I
leads
love
by
that.
example. Yeah, he does. He walks the walk. And I don't know. I'm interested to find out if this was a bridge too far. So yeah,
Who knows? TJ and I certainly don't know.
you guys don't have any idea.
So Fitzsimmons is trying to figure out what saved Coulson, and they're using the hologram thing again, which is fun. Now it's even more fun to watch them watch after the last
Yeah.
episode. But they learn that whatever brought Coulson back to life, it was something called T.H.I.T.1, and so we get a little Triskelion name drop in here, and they mention that whatever this drug is or whatever, only level 10 have access to this, and level 10 just means Nick Fury. I like that he just has his own level. It's
Yeah.
So they can only know so much, but they do figure out about the secret facility, and Coulson, Ward, Fitz, and Garrett go to this place. They get there, they don't know the secret code, so they come in guns ablazing. Things are trapped. I feel like this whole showdown between our guys and these other two guys are kind of fucked up. Because like no one's a bad guy in this situation, but
Yeah.
those other guys kind of get wrecked, and they're doing their job. They're not supposed to let anyone in here, and I think it shows a ruthlessness of everybody, but especially Garrett, because like he's like, we got to do it. This is what we're here to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the glee of what he's doing that I think is kind of just a little bit disturbing about him. But also, those two guys kind of had me nervous because they're the only two guys in this facility. They see people are breaching, and it's their job to stop them. And they were really calm about the assault that was about to take place, and that had me like a little edgy. I was like, oh, these guys must be really fucking good at what they do. These guys, like our guys, are in danger because these guys are just very calm. They're not worried at all. Come to find out, it was a fight. It was a good, decent firefight that they had between each other, and they lost. But I was on edge for them going into the dark.
It was so crazy about that group too. The two of them that they have that calm, but they kind of kept it through their deaths. Like it was almost like a little bit of an apathy of like we did what we were supposed to do. Gonna clock out now.
Right.
Like that's kind of what it seemed like with the two of them. And yeah, I agree. Garrett was a little nutso with that group. But the one part that I really didn't like is Coulson was pulling out all the stops to try and get them to let him in. Why didn't until before the dude was already dying? Why didn't he be like, I'm the one whose head you took off and put back together, and I didn't, and I was yelling, let me die. That was me. Can we just have a quick chat? Like, try that.
I don't know.
I understand it probably wouldn't have worked either, but try that one.
Yeah. That's
fair. I do like when he says, we are here for medical help, but we will defend ourselves. I like that he did give them every opportunity. But that's a pretty good point. Like, I wonder if maybe this is a really quick rotation in this facility. Maybe those guys weren't even there when that happened.
Nobody recognized him. I think one of the guys said, do I know you? So I think that,
Oh,
might have
yeah,
worked,
right.
Yeah.
Right. I forgot about that. All right. So we got more to talk about, but we are going to take a quick little break. So if you have to go to the bathroom, refill your drinks. Here, I'm going to mention Buffy so that you can chug your drink and finish it and go refill it. Maria, take us away. Hello again, everybody. I am here with Tony and TJ. We're talking Tahiti. So we just broke down the big fight at the facility. Meanwhile, though, Trip is kind of hanging out with Gemma, and I don't know, they're kind of flirting over her
You're flirting.
deathbed. Like, I mean, just take the opportunity to. There's definitely some flirting going on, but also some really good stuff. TJ kind of talked about it earlier, but when Trip says, but you can't imagine your life without her, I got teary because my Skimmins heart burst. Even though I don't really ship them, I do love them as a duo. They're one of my favorite pairings on the show. So okay, so we got to talk about the flirtation though.
Yeah, please. I mean, I think that it was very obvious. Oh, they say like grief is like was it Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashers? Like grief is the biggest aphrodisiac, and so like I was like, where's this going? And they're making some eyes, and he's flirting, and she's receiving the flirting, and then they're interrupted, and I'm like, let's see if this goes somewhere because that could be cute.
I feel like I would almost be accidentally flirting with Trip in any situation that we got ourselves into. And so I can't really blame Gemma for that. He's just so smooth. He's so suave and he's so calm but powerful at the same time. And I agree. The way he delivered that line was it was so great. It nearly broke me as well because this is the team that we love. Then they're together and they're breaking apart. And so yeah, it was interesting little flirty stuff, but I almost didn't read too much into it because it just was part of Trip's introduction for me. It was more of like it was less of like what's gonna come between these two and more of like look at this guy, damn.
Yeah, he's got it going on.
I asked you your first impressions of Garrett, but did you have any first impressions of Trip?
I think he's kind of a cooler version of Ward. Like he's just seems a little more self-assured. And no, I mean everything TJ said. TJ, I'm with this guy. He's like he is suave. He is calm. The little dialogue dance that he and Ward have of like, well, I got to go get the guy. And he's like, yeah, I can't let you do that. Well, it's my job. And, it's like, oh, I understand. But no, I'm not telling you where he is. And that's all. I love that. Like, that was really juicy. And no, he's cool. I imagine we're going to see more of him. And I hope we do.
I don't know.
You don't know. TJ doesn't know either. I don't know.
Yeah, we just have no idea. So I guess the only way to find out is to keep watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and for all of our listeners to keep listening to Love in the Time of Hydra. So we go back to the facility. I keep saying facility weird. Facility. And Coulson sees the Tahiti door. He goes in there, he learns something, and he freaks out. We do not know what it was, but at this point, they already got the GH thing, and so he tries to stop them on using it on Sky, and he's yelling, "Don't give it to her! Don't give it to her!" But he's too late, and they're like, "Dude, what the fuck?" And we do eventually they edited it so that we would see it later. It turns out that's some alien blood. Like that is a blue corpse on the table there. That is an alien for sure. And so they don't say what Tahiti stands for, I don't think, but I'm just going to say it because I don't know if they ever actually say it, but it's Terrestrialized Alien Host Integrative Tissue 1, which is like
last I is a 1. That's good.
I was reading it like what is the I? Oh, it's a 1. It's a 1. So, and the blue guy is an alien. As for the species of alien, we will get that confirmation at one point. I don't know. I think that if you could guess because it's a blue guy, and I think that we kind of know what blue aliens are in Marvel. But if you don't want the actual name drop to be a spoiler, we'll save it.
Guess I don't know what blue alien. Maybe if I think about it a little more, I almost recognize it. I don't know who that fucking guy is. I thought that he looked a little, but in the face, like what do they call the architects from the Prometheus and stuff? Looked a little bit like one of those guys, but obviously a normal size. It's like the architect from Prometheus meets Dr. Manhattan. And I was quite stunned, but I was also really grateful that the show just gave me that ending because I thought they were going to leave me on another cliffhanger of what did Coulson see behind the door for another, 5 episodes or something. So when we did a flashback, I was like, Yes, give it to me. And then they did, and it's a doozy.
I almost felt a little bit like, I mean, what did you think? You know, like you were dead. Your heart was ripped in half. So, like,
Yeah.
was there anything you thought you could see that you'd be like, no, this is still a good idea? Like, you knowing that to save her, it was going to be something sketchy. And so, like, I totally understand. I have been diagnosed with PTSD. So I totally understand you go in there and it's like, what the fuck? And your brain just stops working and you just shatter and you go into full anxiety attack and you can't, your coping strategies aren't work because you're back to where you were in the midst of your most traumatic moments. Shout out to Cole Drum, that always being the best trauma analyzer. I don't have the, mine didn't come out same as quite as smoothly, but I do understand that aspect of things. But at the same time, it's like, you had to know it was going to be something pretty fucked up for you to be dead for multiple days and then just come back and be like, oh, you're good.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about this impulse then, because what we know of it based on the classified document that they were going over was that this, what is essentially alien blood, has incredible regenerative properties. It worked on Coulson. It will hopefully work on Skye in this moment. And for me, the discovery that it's coming from the corpse of an alien, I don't really see, other than the fact that it's scary and creepy and weird, I don't see what the alarm is about. Like the whole don't do it, don't give it to her. Because my dude, you're upright, you're walking. She's not like you were. She is not dead. She is in a coma, so to speak. So why the panic? Like, why do you guys think he panicked for them not to give it to her all of a sudden?
I feel like it's part of the unknown, and it was an alien that killed him in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Loki stabbed him in the heart, and I think he's probably a little hesitant. He has had some good experience with Asgardians, but I think the idea that he has alien blood pumping through him is just kind of terrifying, and especially because it's clearly such a big deal that Fury hid it. If it's being hidden so much, if the clairvoyant, it's the one thing that the clairvoyant can't see, why? There's there's so many more unanswered questions. But I also do see your point too of you do seem okay.
Yeah, he did his physical, and he's doing great. And so, if the idea is to save her, you've done it. I understand the thing on the other side of the door is scary, but I'm like, anyway, he did chill out. He saw the effects and he cooled his jets. And also, I guess part of it is he's maybe just reeling from the horror of knowing what's now coursing through his veins.
I couldn't agree more. I felt like I already got my point on there too. I was already starting to think about the next point about the post-credit scene here at the end of it. So I'll let me dial myself back. My ADHD got carried away.
No, love that. No, you're a perfect guest because you talk, and that's what we want on a podcast. Yeah. So basically, to wrap it up before we get to the big post-credit scene, Skye's alive, and she seemed to be more receptive to this drug than Coulson. But like Tony said, she wasn't dead though. Like we didn't need to get brain needles up in there because she was still alive, and it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. And I mean, I have a feeling that Skye's just gonna be like, well, I'm glad I'm alive. So but we'll see if it has any effect on her.
He's already a 084. Who knows what's gonna happen? You guys don't. We've established that already.
All right, so post-credit scene. This is a fun one, a really fun tease. I have a lot to say about this. We get Lorelai, played by Elena Satine. Lorelai is based on Lorelai from a Germanic mythology. So this character existed pre-Marvel, but then she first appeared in The Mighty Thor number 337 in 1984. She was created by Walter Simonson. So we've got a comic character in here. Lorelai, this is like how she's described as a great beauty, seductive, who can basically persuade any man, god or mortal, to do whatever she wants. And that's pretty dope. And what was it, Mr. McDoozy she got to leave his new bride.
Whatever his name was. All right, well,
Yeah.
Go
And
ahead into the room, Mr. McDoozy.
This is
I snarked at those guys.
Yeah, you did. This is fun because we haven't really gotten a lot of post-credit scenes that are like this in terms of a character we've never seen before, and especially a Marvel Comics character that you're like, whoa, this has definitely got to be what next week is about, right?
Very dangerous character. I was like, is this Enchantress? Because that's what Enchantress does. She enchants people and through seduction and through magic is able to make them do what they want. So glad that you gave me this rundown. I'm glad because I don't look this stuff up because I'm afraid of what I might find. I don't want Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spoilers. So Lorelei, 1984, Mighty Thor. Cool. I'm excited to see more of this person. I thought that post-credit scene was fun.
That's one of those things that, like, now that I am running a website, my first thought when I'm seeing this scene was, oh, that would be a good article for SEO. Who is Lorelei from Asgard? Because she said Midgard, so we're gonna assume it's Asgard. And so that was like the first thing that popped into my head. But obviously, I'm a few years late on that one. And so it's interesting. I was excited to bring her on. It's a fun power. Anytime we get the ties to the exterior MCU in this show, it gets me excited. Looking back on it, it does make me even more frustrated that Marvel Studios just has never given us Amora the Enchantress. You're going to give us Sylvie and give her enchanting abilities. You're going to give us Lorelei and the other aspect of her powers. You're going to give us friggin' Scourge the Executioner, her little underling, her little henchman, and not give us Amora, one of the coolest Asgardians, through 4 Thor movies? Anyways,
I'm with you, TJ. I'm with you.
Preach.
I did like her addition, but in hindsight, it's like, damn, where the hell has the Enchantress been through all of this time?
Seriously.
I love that. Yeah, you're right, and you should keep saying it. I learned some interesting things about the actor who plays Lorelei. She actually auditioned to be Black Widow in Iron Man 2.
Cool.
She was in the Gifted. So you know she does have, so that's Marvel, but in the Fox Marvel universe. I read that she campaigned for the role of Mary Jane in The Amazing Spider-Man. I don't really know what that means. If she didn't audition, was she just like tweeting, "Let me play Mary Jane"? They didn't elaborate on what that meant. But she also played Miera in Smallville, so she's been doing like comic stuff for a long time.
Cool. That's cool.
Campaign for Mary Jane, I kind of view that as like, if the Amazing Spider-Man 3 happens, bring in Mary Jane, let it be me.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm viewing that.
Who is Mary Jane in 2? Because isn't somebody, wasn't there like a cut Mary Jane? It's somebody famous.
You're right, but I forget.
There's
a deleted scene. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna Google it because I'm like,
I'm gonna try and beat you to it. I'm doing it right now too.
I thought it's Shan Woodley.
Yeah, Shailene Woodley. Yeah, that's right.
Well, so that is the episode. I've got some fun things to share with you guys in terms of history. Facts. But I want to shout out that Tony, our friends Matt and Shelly are staying with us, and Matt actually watched the episode with us last night, but he has only seen the pilot, so it was fun to get like I drunkenly interviewed him last night about the episode because I was drinking some wine. And I'm like, Matt, let me ask you some questions. And I learned that as somebody who has only seen episode 1 and jumped right into episode 14, he thought it was entertaining. He said that it definitely made him want to watch the show more than the first episode did, which is fair. My favorite quote of his was, "I want to know more about that blue guy, Tahini." Tahiti, which I think he like the idea that if he meant, I guess, Tahiti, but he like the fact idea that that's the alien's name. Like that's hi, I'm Tahiti.
I'm a Mediterranean topping. How are you doing? Yeah.
And I asked him like if he could remember anybody of the characters, and he goes, "I think there was a Davis in there," which is really funny because there's not, but there will be a character named Davis eventually, so that was funny. And then he goes, "I think they were trying to rescue Jessica." That really got me too.
Great insight.
That was fun. But then
isn't Davis also, and I don't think this is spoilery just because it's just who he is. Isn't Davis also what's his face from Ted Lasso?
Yeah,
Isn't he? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't even know. I can't
Max.
remember his name right now either.
Max Olinsky, I think is how you say
Yes.
his last name.
Yeah.
He actually was in an episode already. We did talk about this, but he doesn't have
Oh,
any
yeah.
lines and his name isn't given.
Hmm.
So technically we have seen Davis, but he just didn't have a name yet. But I asked Matt who his favorite character was, and he goes, I think the nerdy guy who hacks the door is pretty cool. And then he goes, this is my favorite thing. He goes, the security guard guy, he was tall. And I went, who? And he goes, Pew Pew guy. And he was referring to Ward.
Of course. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Pew guy.
Yeah, that was some fun reactions from our friend Matt, who watched this episode randomly. Matt, thank you so much for making me laugh. All right, so some fun trivia about this episode. The filming occurred from December 13th, 2013 to January 7th, 2014. We're finally in the new year. This episode was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Visual Effects, but it lost to Game of Thrones episode The Children, which was the season 4 finale of Game of Thrones, which is like fair. For Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to even be like getting recognition on the level of Game of Thrones is kind of impressive when you consider ABC
Tell
Network.
me his name. What's his name?
Yeah, Mark Kolpak. Mark Kolpak.
Mark Kolpak. Preach it. He rocks.
Yeah. And then, so it was actually, speaking of Mark Kolpak, they talked about creating the alien and how it was a complicated process. And you know, it involved a lot of discussions with Mark and the visual effects team. And they had a talk with the Marvel CCO at the time, Joe Quesada, who created like sketches and designs. But what was cool, I didn't know this, Kolpak's son, Brandon, is a personal trainer and bodybuilder. So he served as the body scan reference for the alien, which I thought was really neat.
You can also find my interview with former Marvel CCO Joe Quesada up on the Agents Fandom YouTube page.
Yeah, I love that drop. Oh, exciting. Yes. What was cool was when they were developing the character Garrett, Paxton's name came up. And then Jed Whedon couldn't believe they actually got him. Me neither, Jed. I can't believe it either.
Yeah, for sure.
That's such a crazy little tidbit with them. There's so many things with that throughout the story where in Marvel in general, where you hear like, I wrote this character for this, I wrote with this actor in mind, and then you find out that they got him. It's that's like one of my favorite things.
Love it.
Yeah.
And on the opposite of that, well, they always had Pax in mind. Sarah Finn, who's like the Marvel casting god, I should say, the goddess. She had said at the time that Trip was actually really hard to cast because he had to have humor while still being able to, quote, whip a gun out of his pocket and shoot you believably. And I think that with BJ Britt, they found the perfect person. I think that he has all of that rolled into one. I truly love BJ Britt.
Yeah, I'm
very
into that guy.
Comparable charisma to me to like Anthony Mackie. I could also see Anthony Mackie I could almost see Anthony Mackie and BJ Britt swapping roles and both of them being able to do that perfectly.
Totally. Give me that buddy comedy. I would love to see like an action comedy with the two of them. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, fuck Winter Soldier. Go hang out with this guy.
Well, outside of Marvel, I mean, just cast them in something together. Yeah. All right, Tony, it's about that time where we kick you out of the show so TJ and I can talk spoilers. Do you have anything else to say before you go?
No, I put check marks on all the notes I wrote, so everything I had to say was expressed. So I'll say thank you. Thank you to Stephanie at Eclectic Muses on our socials. And she did our incredible artwork. Ryan Miera of Yellow Pills at Yellow Pills Music on Instagram. He did our music, which is really good. Our producer, Maria. Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
And TJ, thank you, man. It was so nice meeting you.
It was so nice meeting you as well. Just over a year ago, I was in LA, and it was one of the best trips I've ever been on, except the one negative. And I was so bummed for 6 hours of the trip was that we were supposed to come meet the two of you with Aaron in person, and then didn't get a chance to do it because it was just the drive was far and people got enthralled by Disneyland, which happens.
I know what trip this was. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Disney being chosen over me is I get it. I probably would have done the same thing.
I would
So,
have chose you both over Disney.
TJ was like, I wanted to do it. I was fighting for it. I was like, that's sweet, but I get it. So our time will come. We will meet in person. That I believe it. And before Tony goes, I just want to remind everyone to please follow us on social media at LitoPod. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. From there, check out our link tree. It'll take you everywhere you want to go. All the major pod platforms. On Apple and Spotify, now they have videos. So you can all listen to us on those platforms as normal, but you can also now watch us on those platforms. Somebody asked if there's any difference. No, the show is exactly the same. It's just that if you watch us, you can see our faces. I have a lot of facial expressions, so that's something. I might come across differently on screen, and Tony might as well. Only way to find out is to decide to watch us instead of listen. But I think both formats are valid. Whatever you want to do, like and subscribe on our channel. We love that. Please leave us 5-star reviews. We're very grateful when you do that. And we're back next week on March 11th, Monday, with episode 15, Yes Men. If you have not seen beyond episode 14 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., now is the time to leave with Tony. Goodbye, Tony.
We're leaving the room, guys. Let's go. Everybody.
So much foreshadowing in
I
this episode. So much foreshadowing.
It's honestly like the big one that I wrote down. I literally wrote down foreshadow is when Garrett says, "You wouldn't believe what I've talked this son of a gun into," and I'm like, "Yeah, you talked Ward into being Hydra." Oh, it's like it is wild to rewatch this episode knowing stuff because you're just like, it's him. He did all of this. Garrett is the reason for the season.
The reason for the season, and just so many of his small comments when you know the context. It's like, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. I know what's coming with you. And it's crazy. There's moments with Skye. There's moments with him. There's moments with Ward where they just say such small little tidbits. And I wish I would have wrote them down as I was watching, because that was obviously the main one. You wouldn't believe me what I've talked this kid into. But there were so many small ones like that go like, oh, damn, it wasn't totally out of nowhere. They were planting the seeds.
Yeah, and I love the thing about the interrogation scene with Quinn is like Quinn doesn't know that he's the clairvoyant. So it's like he's like, you're like, Quinn looks so stupid. This whole thing, like he's such a dumbass. He has no idea.
It's so fun too after the whole season of him just being like, I can do whatever I want because I'm so smart and I'm a step ahead. And then you get here and it's like, not anymore, dumbass.
Oh, and it's like, and you just get like so upset knowing that like it was his idea to shoot Skye. Like it's his fault that Skye has been shot, and it's crazy that Ward, like you can tell in the beginning of the episode the way he looks at Coulson that he blames Coulson for Skye when it's like, you're a part of this. He is so like just delusional. That man is crazy.
You have to be at that point, right? Like as we learn so much more about him in the future, he's able to sociopathically convince himself that he's doing the correct, if not right, but the correct thing in each situation, and that he can pull blame away when he needs it because he's just kind of programmed his brain to be that kind of nuts with it.
Yeah. Ooh, and so it was funny because as I said earlier, our friend Matt was watching with us, and when he went into the facility, Matt was like, "Oh, I bet there's going to be Coulson clones," which he was wrong, but that would have been cool to see. But it was like, that's kind of going to happen eventually, with the LMDs, and then, even with everything that goes down in season 6 with Sarge, like it's not like technically a clone, but I hope Snowbat in the comments appreciates that season 6 name drop. She's our number 1 season 6 stan. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
The one part about this that I wasn't sure about looking back is that I wasn't sure if they even address this going forward. Has Skye Daisy always been Inhuman? Or with the whole Inhumans being created of like experimenting on humans with Kree DNA, did they essentially just make her Inhuman here? Because that's an aspect of the show that I kind of forgot. Was she always Inhuman, or did they literally just make her Inhuman right there by putting Kree blood in her?
Oh, she definitely always was because of who her parents
Yeah.
are.
Oh,
her mother,
duh.
I should say. Yeah.
Brain, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
Jeez,
fair.
damn it.
That's fair. Maybe, but in the behind the scenes, they
Yeah.
might not have known yet, how
Yeah.
far they were, but definitely. But it is interesting because the whole thing is like it's like dormant now. Like
Yeah.
obviously she's not gonna have her powers until they go into the cave, and it's so hard to like. I don't want to say too much about my love of Trip in front of Tony because one, I want him to suspect that he might be Hydra because there is an episode where you don't know yet, but also like the fact like Trip's death really hurts, but God, when he comes back in season 4 in the framework is just so satisfying, and I'm like, we're so far away from that.
So far away, and it just, oh my, this show gets like, just rewatching this episode made me go like, I want to watch it again now. I want to restart and do this same thing that the two of you are doing because it's so incredible. And this is really where it starts. Like not this episode, but a few before. Before is when this show starts going, we're going to have a run of like 4 seasons in a row from this episode on where you're all just going to be hooked. You're all going to be hooked the entire time. And this is where it begins. And it's so exciting because I'm just kind of looking at the next part of your notes here, and where it says like, this is what is so exciting to me. This is the part of the show that's so great is Captain America, the Winter Soldier comes out, and then this comes out, and it's all like, it's all timed so well with, oh God, I watched this movie in the theater, and now I'm coming back to this, and it's like, oh my God, what is going on? And it ties into it, and it's where you're still believing like this is fully fledged MCU before, whether you want to look at it as time travel in universe as the reason or business reasons exterior, like that it strayed away. But this is when it's just like right in the thick of it, and it's so much fun.
It's I bringing up Winter Soldier, I actually forgot this, or that beginning with this episode, all the episodes leading into the release of Winter Soldier, they were marketed as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Uprising, which makes sense. We're getting to all the Winter Soldier stuff, and I could have brought that up, but I'm trying to make Tony not think about it. Like he knows he's seen Winter Soldier a million times, but like he hasn't really, I don't think, put together that they're gonna have to tie in together and within weeks. And we will do the movie on our Patreon for its 10th anniversary for sure. And I'm sure that's gonna start stirring his brain a little bit. But at this point, he doesn't suspect a thing.
Oh, that's so great. It's so we're far enough removed where it's like you don't even. I almost regretted bringing up of like how connected it was at the beginning, because
he knows that though.
Yeah, but just because I don't want to plant any seeds, but it's so unbelievably well done the way it connects that it's truly a shame that they weren't filling, like they didn't have these people in the Marvel Studios room and the Marvel Studios people in their room just to keep connectivity throughout. Because don't get me wrong, they do some great stuff. I'm one of the, I don't actually feel like there's a weak season. I loved all of these all the way through. And so, but it probably could have been even cooler if they would have been able to keep pulling that connectivity through the entire time. They mentioned Thanos' name once sometime in the future. If they were actually able to coordinate that would have been pretty incredible.
So true. Philip in the comments is like, Hydra being in the title of your podcast is kind of a spoiler. Fair. You got me there. But again, Tony hasn't said anything. Before I say our goodbyes, TJ, anything else you want to say about this episode or anything you want to plug? Any more Agents of Fandom stuff coming up?
We have some incredibly exciting interviews dropping soon for X-Men 97. Yeah. So we for Toronto Comic-Con hooked us up with a few. So we're going to be having Cal Dodd, the voice of Wolverine. We're going to have an interview with him dropping really soon, as well as, I'm forgetting his name just off the top of my head. I'm searching it really quick, but the voice of Beast.
My boy! Beast is my boy.
George Busa. Yeah. And so the voice of Beast, we're going to have one with him as well. And then after that, I got not confirmed times yet. So I don't actually like talking about this until the time is confirmed. It's locked in. But I don't care. I'm going to do it anyways because I'm excited. Going to be talking to Brad Winderbaum, who is, of course, the head of Marvel Television and Animation, as well as Bo DeMaio, who is the writer and showrunner of the show. So we got some really fun interviews coming with that. They'll be up on agentsfandom.com as well as on our YouTube page. And then, just lots of great Dune content, Invincible content, Bad Batch, so much exciting television and movie right now. And then Oscars next week too. We got somebody going to South by Southwest, so they're going to be doing all the reviews from there. So really, really exciting stuff coming. And just thank you so much for having me on. As soon as I heard you were launching this, I was like so excited about the potential prospect of it, because not only do I just absolutely love hanging out with you, but this is one of my favorite shows of all time. So it's as soon as you asked me, I was like, it doesn't even matter if I have something else going on. It worked out perfectly. But even if I didn't, I was like, I am penciling this in because I can't wait.
I love hearing that. Thank you. I was like, I gotta have TJ on. Like, you have been on my list since the beginning, so I'm so glad that it worked out. I'm excited to see all your stuff. I'm so excited for X-Men 97. Tony and I have been rewatching it, and the animated series, and it's just like perfect television. I think it's one of the greatest animated shows of all time. I just bought a hat to wear to the LA launch event that they're doing, and I'm so excited for my X-Men 90s or X-Men animated series hat. Like, keep an eye out on my Instagram for photos of my new hat, everybody. But anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks for our chat. Our chat was popping today, and I totally know that is because everyone loves TJ. We had such a good chat today. Reminder again that our next episode won't be live because I want to watch the Oscars. Team Lily Gladstone, but also Team Poor Things winning Best Picture, even though that's never going to happen. But we're dropping Yes Men on March 11th. I think Tony's going to be so excited when Lady Civ shows up. He's not ready for that. So check out our episode dropping, all major pod platforms. You know the spiel. Watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Tell your friends to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so that they can join us, Loving the Time of Hydra, our companion pod. Thank you again, TJ. Everyone have a good night.